We are live. It's a different lineup this week. I've got Ash and Jacob joining. Jacob, not on a Thursday. Are you okay with this? Are you okay?
I'm over the moon about this. Usually my takes are about 5 days old because I have to wait until Thursday to get my stuff out. So it's nice. It's nice to come in fresh for once.
Superb. Ash, how you been, mate?
Mate, yeah, good times after that one, I have to say. Very happy. It's a nice and warm day here on the east coast of the US.
Fantastic. I had my first jollof rice today. I had my first Ghanaian jollof rice. I had it for breakfast. I went to an international food fair and I was like, this feels like it could be the good luck vibe that we needed, and it paid off. So I've got to find jollof rice before every Arsenal game for the rest of the season. What a magnificent win. We've got an action-packed show. If you're listening to this live, that means that you are one of our valued members. Thank you. And if you're listening to this later on Monday, you can listen to these right after the game. We're the fastest podcast in the world when it comes to Arsenal, at least. All right, let's not mess around.
Mirror man, you twist and turn my mind until I don't know who I am. Mirror
Good
man.
morning and welcome to a new edition of the Arsenal Opinion Podcast. We've just come away from Villa Park with a vital 3 points. Arsenal are back. Away days with clean sheets are back. David Raya is a good goalkeeper, and I'm joined by Ash and Jacob, and we're going to get to the bottom of one of the best results of 2024. Guys, how you doing today?
Good after that, mate. Good after that. That's the biggest result in the Premier League so far. And look, we're only 2 weeks in. That's a huge result. That is a title contender, a title favourite for some people, exercising their biggest demon. That's massive.
Ash, you know that Unai Emery has a hex over me. Were you a little bit concerned at halftime? Were you confident or were you pacing?
Oh, do you know, I saw an Emery interview a couple of days ago. I try and stay away from that shit, and he just looked particularly furious, like he just wanted it this weekend. And I wonder if there's a bit of overconfidence. At halftime, I thought, fucking hell, we are really quite lucky. Look, Saka could have done what he did, but halftime, I was worried. I actually felt it might be a trust kind of game. So there you go. Maybe that was that as well. That and your Ghanaian rice.
Did he look as angry as Zinchenko did at the start of that game?
Oh
that was an angry face.
He looked like,
they were like, he's deep in thought. I was like, no, that is a man who is extremely angry to be sitting on the bench. Yeah. All right, chaps, we've got an action-packed show. You know what's coming.
Hottest of takes.
Hottest of takes.
The hottest of takes.
The AOP. Hottest of takes. Make it spicy.
Ash, we're going to go to you for this week's hottest of takes. Take it away.
So my hottest of takes is that every hat-trick has to have a first. And if we look at last year against the top 7, we only won one of those away games, and that was at Spurs. This season, our opening 3 away games, we've got to get 3 Ws, and that's the first of the 3. Spurs away next. City away after that. This is great for us. This is a great first stepping stone. Exercise that demon. Kick on.
Fantastic. Jacob, where are you going to take your hottest of takes? Make it spicy and fresh.
Hottest of take. One side of the pitch for us is as good as anyone in Europe. Our right-hand side is as good as it gets. There's an issue with the left-hand side. And I don't mean to start with a negative, and I'm sorry to do so. The look in Trossard's eye with the celebration, that was a look of going, bench me now. Bench me fucking now. And I love Gabriel Martinelli. Love Martinelli to bits. It wasn't happening today. It wasn't really happening last week. I love Timber. I don't know if I love Timber today. There's a lot of points today where I was seeing Declan Rice with the ball very high up the pitch, a few too many touches, little bit clumsy, as we said the other day. The right-hand side, every time, rat-a-tat, Saka, White, Ødegaard would create a chance. Every single time. I think Saka got an assist for the second one for Partey. He didn't quite get the assist for the first one because it comes off it. Saka basically creates all of it. Right-hand side, great. Left-hand side, we need a lot of work. We've already bought a new left-back. We've bought a new left-8 now. And I've heard every tired pundit before the game going, Arsenal need a number 9. Arsenal just need a striker. No, we don't. We need a left winger. We need a left winger. And We've done the left back, we've done the left 8. It's time for a left winger, in my opinion.
Spicy take, spicy hot take. Mine is going to be a bit more self-serving. The hex is over. Emery, you're not going to hurt me anymore. Arsenal just rolled up to Villa Park with an unfit starting 11. Declan Rice, he's been at 10 days in training. Saka, he's been away all summer. And they went to one of the most rugged teams in the Premier League. They put in a mature performance and we shithoused them. I felt like that was an Arsenal shithousing. That's the sort of result that Emery gets all season long. Doesn't quite deserve it, gets it over the line. That's what it was like being an Arsenal fan under Unai Emery. But finally, we've cleared the duck. We've beaten an Emery side. Arteta can rest easy and we can carry on with the rest of the season. So I am absolutely over the moon, but more over the moon about the circumstances. And does anybody else think that it's odd that Man City always get such kind of easy starts to the season? Spurs also get pretty easy starts to the season. Like, why have Arsenal got this 5-game run? I've been after these fixture people in the past.
You and this fixture computer, you've never got on.
Never got on. I can't get over it. Arsenal's start to the season is disgusting, but this fixture guy is not going to get in the way of Arsenal winning the Premier League this season.
But there's also other weirdness this season. I think there's like 2 entire months where all our away games, we don't travel further than like 70 miles. We're not going up north or anything like that. Because this is the fewest number of Northern Premier League teams there's ever been, by the way.
Really? No, that is a good stat.
Yeah,
that is a good stat. Yeah, I don't like the way that our fixtures have been set up, and I don't like the way City's fixtures end. I know we've all got to play the same amount of teams, but there's definitely something to the order of when you play teams, and I feel like Arsenal have got a particularly brutal start. But the good thing is, if you rack up a lot of points in these opening 5 games, you don't have to go back there again. You don't have to worry about that in the second half of the season. So hopefully we can get it over the line. But that was a magnificent performance, and we've got lots of things to touch on. So let's just touch on the win. Let's just get right into it. Jacob, if we'd won this game last season against Aston Villa, we win the Premier League. We've had a problem with Emery's sides in the past. Villa Park is now a legitimately nightmarish place to go. Lots of teams are going to lose points against them this season. How important is it to get a win like that in those circumstances against Aston Villa? What do you think it means for a title challenge? He's gone mute.
a debut on the whistle fuck up. I think it's huge. I think it's huge for 2 reasons. I think, first of all, they are just legitimately a really good team. They really are. You go across that team, there's just quality everywhere. Rodgers, I feel like I've only ever seen him play against us. Rodgers, jeez, he's unstoppable. Like, he's like a juggernaut when he starts going with the ball. You can't get in his way. Bailey, really good player. Onana, every corner, Onana could basically stand on their penalty spot and he'd still manage to get into our box and win a header at a corner. They're a really good team. The other thing, I think we know from bits of the documentary that Arteta isn't afraid of having a grudge. He's not afraid of showing the squad the tweets from Ivan Toney where he put nice kick around with the boys after Brentford beat us on the opening day. He's not afraid of playing You'll Never Walk Alone on the training ground. He's not afraid of making a big deal over a team that he feels we need to beat. And today we've beaten them. And this will feel like a massive, massive milestone for Arteta really early on in the season.
I muted myself there as well. Ash, how important are results like this? You know, you lose both games last season. Does this matter? Are players going back on the bus and thinking about what happened last season? Does this give an extra boost of confidence?
I think so. And context is everything, right? I think especially with the game being this early in the season and the games against Villa being somewhat later. I mean, it's the only game we've lost this year, by the way, right? Villa. Think about that. So of course it's playing on their minds. I think it does. I don't think it's as much as we probably think it is. That said, look, I know you said earlier in one of the season preview pods, Pete, that you can see Villa tailing off. I do as well. I think they're going to find the Champions League thing really, really hard, actually. I think it's going to be, that's exactly the same as sort of the Newcastle effect last year. But that doesn't matter right now. Right now, they haven't even been in the draw yet. So this is probably the best way we're going to get them. And to chalk it off early is nice. I love not having these kinds of away trips at the back end of the season, you know? Too many times, that's when you sort of get into those awful runs. So I think it's a huge, huge win for that reason. Secondly, they're a bloody good side. I think it was a good test for us today. They're a very good team. I think Onana, again, they've replaced Douglas Luiz really well there. I think he looks a great player, isn't he? In that team. Very physical. I thought it was a very physical game, actually. I think we matched up pretty well on that front. So look, good day, very good day at the office. Look, I could, by the way, you know, we'll get into it. I'm sure there's a scenario where we're losing that game 2-0 quite quickly, right? And there's another one, by the way, that really came close where we're 3-4-0 up at the end of it. So I think it's a big round of applause for the lads today. Big flowers everywhere.
Yeah, I thought it was a brilliant win. I think that's going to count at the end of the season for sure. I think the players will go back relieved that they don't have an Aston Villa problem. Like, we don't have a bogey team in the Premier League now. Like, picture that. Like, we're in 2024 heading into 25 and we don't have a team that we always fuck up against. So that's fantastic. I mean, we haven't played Southampton for 2 seasons, so we'll wait and see what happens there. Hopefully they're not going to be a problem this year. But I loved the maturity of how Arteta set up. He showed a lot more respect for Villa this time. Maybe a little bit too much respect in the first half, but you know, we going a goal down in an away day is not a good look, and it's difficult to fight back when that, especially against Villa that thrive in the transition moments. I love that we were a match for them physically. I got a little bit worried when Saliba was getting into it with Watkins, but he won. He won the battle of personality there. I loved seeing Gabriel and Saliba celebrating slide tackles like goals. Like, this is a team that wants to keep clean sheets again. And I like that there were some standout performances there. It wasn't pretty. I don't know whether we 100% deserve to come away with 3 points, but big teams that win Premier Leagues escape away days like that with wins. And that was a massive, massive win. And I also think that there's a little bit where you're like, well, it's only Aston Villa, because you're stuck in the past of it being an Aston Villa team. You forget they're in the top 4 because they are a top 4 team, like undisputed. So I think that's going to be a great win. I'm very excited. So let's move on. Let's move on to this guy. Last season, David Raya was a bit of a mystery. Arsenal were conceding so few chances that the biggest criticism we had of David Raya is, does he show up with big saves? Has he got big saves in him? Or is he just one of these fancy keepers who's good with the ball at his feet? Today, he showed up with 2 unbelievable saves. Jacob, is there going to be a conversation had at some point that David Raya is in the top 3 goalkeepers in the Premier League? What did you think of his performance today?
Mate, I'm not just saying this. I had him in that top 3 last season. I might have had him in that top 3 when he was at Brentford. I think he's well in the top 3. I think this is about him challenging the other 2 now, challenging Ederson and Alisson and saying I could be the best. I think with his feet he might well be. I think his distribution is so on point. It's not just the distribution, it's the timing. It's the way that he rolls that ball under his studs to wait and deliver every pass at the right time. But those saves today, I think the thing you have to remember with Raya, and personally, I don't criticise Raya for this. I criticise Edu and Arteta ever so slightly, because I think it was a bit mucky last season. I think the fact that we brought him in after we gave Ramsdale a contract, I think the interviews where we're talking about why can't you have 2 goalkeepers, I don't think any of that helped. And I do think in the first half of last season, there were mistakes. I don't think he's great for that Newcastle goal that we all thought should have been ruled out. I don't think he's great for the goal that Spurs scored against us away at theirs last season. Sorry, at home last season. I think he made a few cock-ups last season. He's starting this season in red-hot form. And that is massive. That is the easiest way that you can save yourself 5 points in a season, is your goalkeeper just going supernova in games like this. And make no mistake, we drop points today if it's not for him. We do. Any other keeper that we've had in the last few years, by the way, Emi Martinez, who many would say is one of the best shot stoppers we've had, who we let go, who's a better shot stopper than Ramsdale. Some would say he's a better shot stopper than Raya. Look at that little P-roller that he lets in from Partey. Raya's not letting them in today. So honestly, I think Raya's form could be absolutely massive for our title charge, because it could honestly be the difference between the points we got last season and enough points to topple City.
I love that. I love that. What, Ash, what do you make of Jacob's comments there about Raya? How do you feel?
Look, I think he's 100%. He's in that conversation and up there now. I mean, there's no two ways about it. And hands down, it's plain and simple. Jacob's spot on. Without David Raya and probably William Saliba today, we come away with 0 points. Frankly, absolutely none. And I think that's a really key, important thing today, that we may want to sit here and be critical of the number of chances and everything that we conceded, but we didn't concede a goal. We were actually very clinical. We were very efficient in everything. You know, we scored with our first shot on target in the second half.
Yeah.
Right? Everything was like, there were, you know, Watkins missed it. You got to say that, frankly. But would he have missed that howler if, you know, I think Raya was in a pretty decent position anyway. But look, I think he's become a real leader in that side, in that back line as well. For me, I think the thing that's interesting is he's 29 now? Just at that age where goalies are starting to really peak, you know. He's been in that Euro squad and not played all summer. But he's got the mental sharpness just seems to be insane. I mean, that's the thing with us, you know, especially last week when you've got nothing to do all game and then got to pull off a worldie like that as well.
I think the most underrated part of Raya's game is exactly what you said there, Ash. The alertness. He had 2 big saves, and they're the things that everybody's going to be talking about after the game. But you know, the moment that I thought was incredible, it was in the first half where Rodgers burst through and clipped the ball into the box, and Raya caught it, just nipped in front of it. Like that was unbelievable alertness and bravery. And that's his game. He's an incredible reader of the game, and he's incredibly brave, and he takes big risks. And I thought, you know, going for that was quite risky, but he was alert. He's brilliant with the ball at his feet, and I think you're right. He's 29 years old. He's been around the block. He's played for Brentford, and I always think those players that have been in the more difficult clubs to play at, when they get to a big club, they don't let it go. They don't let that opportunity go. Trossard's exactly the same. You know, he was out in the wilderness, might never have played European football, but the David Raya saves were fantastic, and I think Arsenal have got a real gem in their hands. And to think we didn't spend over 30 million on him. I mean, that is one of the biggest bargains of the season. Jacob,
by the way, you can replace that name there with Aaron Ramsdale, which is quite funny. Played in those, you know, unfashionable teams before, came into Arsenal, and then it's interesting, isn't it? It's sliding doors, isn't it? It's a bit weird.
It's sliding door, but it's also that's the quality of this guy. Is as you say, Ash, he can make those saves. And as much as we can sit here and go, oh well, we gave away big chances. Look at Liverpool when they were picking up loads of points last season. Do you remember what Liverpool used to do? They used to leave Van Dijk and Alisson, and even if they gave away big chances, they would stop them going in the net. And this is the whole thing with the XG thing. I haven't looked yet, but I don't doubt if the XG isn't pretty tight today, it probably does favour Villa.
1.35 Villa, 1.1 Arsenal. So yeah, you're correct.
Right. But here's where XG doesn't work. Erling Haaland, quote unquote, outperforms his XG every single season. Do you know why? Because he's a really good striker. So XG doesn't really work because he scores more goals than most people would in that position. There are goalkeepers where you can apply that as well. There are defenders where you can say that as well, where they're kind of XG cheats. If they're good enough at saving the ball, if they're good enough at stopping. I mean, that slide tackle Saliba makes on Jacob Ramsey. What are we talking about? It's a joke. He rolled back his Mbappe moment. It's a joke. So that allows us, if we think about how we're going to move forward as a team, that allows us. Last season, I have to be honest, when we got into back and forth games, which I think that became, by the way, at the beginning of that second half, it turned into a slugfest. It looked like 2 heavyweights just exchanging blows. And I used to worry about us because I used to think, you know what? We don't have the finishers to take the chances. And I don't know if we can shut the back door. Today, that back door stays shut. And I think today, to go back to my earlier point, Bukayo Saka, like if you give him a yard in your box, he kills you, and he did twice.
Let's stay on the topic of locking it up, Jacob, because I did want to pay a bit of attention to Saliba and Gabriel out there. They played a great game, but they seem to be enjoying themselves. They seem to enjoy being around each other. They share the same values, the same football philosophy. They look out for each other. They're sublime on the ball. And some of those defensive actions, especially late in the game, were magnificent. Jacob, do you like having defenders that love keeping clean sheets?
Yeah.
It's a softball question, that one.
Yeah. There wasn't going to be a no, was there? I mean, no. I watched this game with my missus, who doesn't, she watches a bit of football with me, she doesn't really get it. And she got so confused when they, they sort of celebrate when they make the tackle or celebrate when they make a clearance.
Yeah.
Is it over? What's happened? Why are they jumping up and down like that? The thing is, I think what we saw Timber today, and I've gone big on Timber, and I've gone, yeah, Timber could come in, he could be the main man, he could be part of the spine of the team. We saw Calafiori come on at the end, and the thing is, it's so easy to look at charts from other leagues and the shiny new toy we get in the transfer window and go, oh, who are they going to Ramsdale? Who's going to get benched for them? These two have been doing the business for 2 years. These two have been doing the business at the absolute top of the game. They've pocketed Haaland twice. These two, it's the best centre-back partnership in the world. And there's no argument to be had there. I'm sorry, there's not. Who else is there? These two are the bollocks. And if you're Calafiori or Timber and you've got designs, and I don't doubt that when Gabriel has his little cock up at the start and gets tackled and Watkins misses it, I don't doubt Calafiori's sat there and he's got a little tingle in his spine going, oh, maybe that's me. Maybe I'm the left centre-back. Mate, watch the rest of the game. Shut down.
So good.
The standard is just so high.
Ash, that was 23 and 26 years old. This partnership is in its infancy, but it already feels like we're looking at two 29-year-olds that have done it all.
Yeah.
Is this the best centre-back partnership in the Premier League? And is it time for Virgil van Dijk to hand over best in league status to Bill Saliba?
Yes, and yes. I mean, I think that it's a plain fact. It is the best centre-back partnership in the Premier League. We were the best defence in the Premier League last season. We still haven't conceded a goal yet this season, so there's no disputing that fact. That was Saliba's 40th straight start, by the way.
Wow. Incredible off a broken back for a stress fracture, right?
Jesus. And by the way, that was only that little Gabriel, whatever it was, spat or whatever it was at the beginning of last season that meant he was dropped for those couple of games. So I just think their reliability and their consistency is amazing. I love the way they do that sort of celebrating thing. I suspect for the two of them today, having lost twice against that lot last year, they would have said probably, in their heads, it's not on my watch, not again, not fucking today, It really felt like that for those two. And, that, by the way, that's a sign of a very happy camp. And we talk about it a lot in other sports. You see it in cricket a lot when teams are doing well and someone fields a ball beautifully, they all run over and give me, a slap on the back, whatever. It's that culture and everything that's driving success. And it is. Like we said, without those guys or without Raya today, we don't win. So, yeah, we can go celebrate the goal scorers, but those guys deserve as much bloody credit. Great.
Yeah, totally agree. I think we've got best-in-class centre-backs that can do it all. I like that we have people that could knock on the door. Calafiori came on, looked like he could move around, looked aggressive, looked like the sort of player that if you did rotate him into that central defence, you're going to get a lot more security than you do with Kivior. But that partnership is exceptional. And I haven't felt this way about a defence for maybe 20 years. Like a defence that if they concede and the team still wins, they're going back on the coach upset about not getting that clean sheet. Like the passion for clean sheets really is not something that I expected when Mikel Arteta joined Arsenal. I think we all expected that, he's been with Pep. This is going to be tiki-taka football. He's not going to be focused on the defense. But if anything, he's too focused on defenders. He loves buying defenders. But what a defense he's set up. And if they play like that for the rest of the year, then we are going to be in with a shout, regardless of what happens at City at the end of the year. All right, let's move on to more attacking thoughts. Didn't want to go too hard at Martinelli. He's a kid, but he did start over Trossard, and Trossard does one thing very, very well. He has end product in almost every game that he played. Didn't look happy to be on the bench. Jacob, he came onto the pitch, first touch, does the business. Is he making it impossible to drop him moving forward? Is he now the first left-sided player on the team sheet for you moving forward? What do you make of the performance out there?
What do I make of the performance? I don't think it was just the goal that was great from Trossard. I thought there was other bits as well. I thought the way he combined with other players. There was one. I mean, I think is it the Partey goal where it's a lovely Gabriel ball over the top to Trossard, who flashes it across to Saka, who then pulls it back. So they did that move a couple of times. Of Gabriel swinging it over to Trossard. There was another one where he flicked it onto Rice. Rice got there, pulled it back to Ødegaard, and he skies it. I mean, that's Martinelli stuff, isn't it? If you were to say which one of our left wingers is going to run in behind, go behind the fullback and get on the end of something to cut a team open, you think it's Martinelli. It's Trossard's.
But Martinelli had that the exact move with Martinelli 2 or 3 times as well. By the way,
he did, but we didn't create those kind of chances because Martinelli's final ball just isn't there. And by the way, I want it to be there, but when you're watching Trossard do it with. It's one touch, the flick to Rice, one touch, the flash across to Saka. He's just so decisive. And I think he's the best finisher at the club, comfortably. He's the only one, out of every single one of our forwards, I think every other forward we have looks like it's like that fire and ice thing they say with attacking footballers, right? It's like you need to have fire outside the box and ice in your veins when you get in it. Everyone else seems to get more fiery, more flustered when the ball comes to them in the box. He's the only one where time just seems to slow down and he just slots it. I don't know how you can leave him off the pitch at this point. How many goals must he have? Did he get like 17 goals last season?
I do not know that off the top of my head, but he was unbelievably productive. He must be. Was there a stat that he's one of the most productive players in Europe, like minutes per?
He must be. He must be. And I mean, I'd go as far as to say, because he came in the January before last season, right? I wonder if any of our players have scored more goals than him in that time. The only one that can be up there is Saka. I can see the way you boys are looking at your screen right now. I can see you checking numbers. But he must be up there. He must be up there.
He scored 12. He scored 12 in the Premier League last season.
He scored 12 in the Premier League. I mean, that's
bear in mind how many times he can't have started more than half. I want a winger who can beat a man. I want a left winger who can run behind, skin someone. I love Martinelli on form. I love the idea of a Nico Williams. Ultimately, every time you put Trossard on the pitch, he scores a goal. And I do think the balance of our team, we do all of our build-up on the right-hand side, tiki-taka, one touch, little rotations, Ben White, Saka and Ødegaard. Ball comes across, you just need someone to finish it, and he's that guy.
Do we like this meme? We've got a meme up on the screen. It's Moneyball. And it's Brad Pitt. Why do we like Trossard? Because he scores goals. I think that's from Billy Carpy. That's what he does. He scores goals. Ash, do you think that there are a little bit of similarities between his impact on the team and how Freddie Ljungberg used to impact the side?
Yeah.
I think the way he finishes is a bit Ljungberg.
Oh, very much so. Look, I mean, I said at the beginning, I thought at halftime this feels like a Tross game. Jacob, you made it sound much more eloquent than me. It's just I felt it was something like no, it was just like we need someone that could put their fucking foot through it. Frankly, at some point, it felt like it was going to be one of those games. But the Freddie thing's a really interesting analogy because I think Freddie had this kind of impact and just played his way into the starting 11 by then. But in this kind of equivalent sort of period, albeit not in his favorite position, stuck out on the right, not where he wanted to play, all that kind of stuff. I don't know whether you can compare them on that basis because I don't think Trossard's got that shirt yet. I think he starts against Brighton next week.
Yeah, he'll want a piece of that. He'll want a piece of that. And Brighton got a good result today as well. Got to be on our toes for that one, right?
Yeah.
All right. So so Trossard, I think he's making a case to start, and it's always nice to remind everybody in the Arsenal world, we all twerked for Mudryk. When Mudryk went to Chelsea, we thought we had just missed out on Lionel Messi. There were tears shed. And when we signed Trossard, there were a lot of people that were like, that's a boring signing. Who's the boring signing now? Certainly not Trossard. That's some of the best £25 million that have ever been spent. And it's interesting looking at the discourse around Mudryk at the moment. I mean, he feels like he could retire and no one would care. Like, he's absolutely in the mud. So, yeah, great bit of business. And out of a sign of a good club for me is when your plan A fails, is your plan B good? And Arsenal have got a lot of players in their team that were plan Bs. And I could even go to Lisandro Martinez. Remember, he was the player that we wanted at left back, and he's gone to United, and it has not worked out. It has not worked out well there. So great stuff from Arteta and the gang. Let's move on to the next topic of conversation, just because it's funny. McGinn getting the ball levered at him after he went against Saliba. Ash, culturally, is it good to have people like Ben White in the side because they stand up for each other? Like, does Ben White really epitomize that? And do you remember going through the banter years when it felt like nobody was looking out for each other? Like, we'd get bullied by other teams and nobody would stick up for each other. No one would crowd out the referee. Is it different in this side? And does Ben White's behavior, quick behavior as well? He's like, I'm going to smash him with the ball, and he didn't take much time over that. He just went right for it. What did you make of it?
I love all this shit. I love it. I think it's really important in teams that you have characters and that there are people like that around it. I think it was on many years ago on another podcast where a curly-haired comedian talked about he'd had a conversation with Tony Adams in the banter years, and Adams said something like, "You need 7, like, 7 guys who are willing to go into a fight in the tunnel." And he said, in our day we had 10. We just said leave Thierry out of it, and kind of that all makes sense, right? And you go back to the banter years, none of that. No, I don't think there was any of that culture. I don't think they were fighting for one another. I think they were coasting, frankly. The club was coasting, clearly. And I think you look at those guys now, honestly, you talk about Ben White's shithousery. The little I saw of Calafiori today, in the way he sort of laughed back when people were going for him, I think you touch on these guys and give you a slap, it's going to fucking hurt. And I like that. I really like that. I think it's great to have young players in that environment where they feel protected and looked after. The arms that are going around from that whole group on players like Ranieri and whatever, I love it. I think Ben White, by the way, your preview podcast, I have, for the first time in a long time, had a number and a name put on the third away kit. And I have gone for Benny White.
Good man.
Very nice. Nice. I like that. Jacob, Ben White is probably the first player in the Premier League to be so good at shithousing, they changed the rules to stop him being a bastard from corners. Is it refreshing to you to have a player like that in a team, or do you think it lacks class?
Oh, bollocks to lacking class. No, sorry. I've watched Chelsea win too many titles. I've watched Man United bully too many referees to care about class anymore. No, we were classy for too long and won nothing. This is it. And I don't think it's just him either. I think other players, mate, Havertz is a niggly bastard.
Oh, he's a mark.
Havertz is a naughty boy. He throws elbows. He knows what he's doing. There's a few of them that know exactly what they're doing, and I've got no issue with it whatsoever. Look, if it's worth Arteta hiring pickpockets to steal their lunch money, it's worth throwing an elbow sometimes. It's worth kicking a ball back at John McGinn. If we're talking about marginal gains, this is a good one.
Do you think it's something that they scout? Do you think it's part of is there any gamesmanship? Do they add a layer of something that we don't have? Do you think they look for that sort of stuff?
We know they do personality checks. We know that they look into the personality of these players. And even Calafiori, like, we know that with Calafiori, he overcame a massive injury at 16. This guy's no introvert. He's no shrinking violet. He's coming here. He's coming here to rip someone's shirt off and start games. And you can see by the way he handles himself, the way he's 22 years old, Calafiori. and he's going up against Premier League centre-backs and laughing at them when he mugs them off. But I think they know exactly what they're doing when they buy these players, and I think they all just look up for the fight.
So let's talk about Oh, sorry, Ash, you want to come in here?
No, look, it's you get this and this personality testing. I think this is a really interesting trait of Arteta's and the way he does it, because it's no different to going into a high functioning sort of large executive environment when you go for an interview. It's not just like a 30-minute conversation and you're done. There's a lot of time spent together. And why is that? Because often leaders are looking for, are you someone I can work with? Can I manage you? What are you going to be like to work with? It's not just about the player, about getting what am I going to get from Arteta. It's a bi-directional thing. And then there are different bonds and trusts that form within that. And you see it in very high-performing cultures where good leaders will go and tell the guy that they think is capable of creating needle to go wreak havoc sometimes, because sometimes you need that bit of needle to keep driving you forward. So I fundamentally think it's absolutely part and parcel of what we're about. By the way, I don't think this is anything new to football. If you ask me who the biggest king of shithousery has been at Arsenal for a number of years, it was Dennis Bergkamp.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was
the world's silkiest, most beautiful player. No issues leaving a foot in, an elbow in, or going for you. Like, hard bastard. So I don't think they're mutually exclusive things.
Okay, let's dive into Calafiori. Jacob, I know that we didn't see much of him today, but he was subbed on and he played left back. I wanted to get your take on what you think about the position that he took up, and what do you think he's going to offer the team after seeing him for like 15 minutes? So it's a tough question, but
it's not easy. It's not
an easy one.
I mean, today it felt like what he was coming on to do was shut things down a bit. He's obviously a natural left footer, which Timber isn't. Everything Timber's done before joining us was kind of on the right-hand side of the pitch. So I still feel like that's almost a little bit unnatural for Timber. We should also say for Timber, by the way, that's his second start in the Premier League for us in over a year. There's a lot of ring rust to get off that guy. I think we've got a really, really, really interesting competition going on at left back, and it's really healthy. We've got three brilliant players who are going to fight for that position. You mentioned already how fed up Zinchenko looked to have lost his place. We know that Calafiori is going to come in hot to try and take that position. We know that Timber wants to do it. I think Timber really looked like he wanted to go into the inside of the pitch every time he got the ball. I wonder if Calafiori is going to go outside a little bit more, going to run the channel a little bit more. He looked like he wanted to come in quite a lot today, but I think especially if
quite quick. He was quick.
You said he was slow. You scared me in the summer. You told me he's slow.
The Basel manager said you're never going to make it as left back because you're too slow, and that's why he came inside. But I thought he looked quite light on his feet for a big guy.
Well, this is the thing. I think if you're going to have Trossard, and you know Trossard hasn't got that pace, you know that Trossard doesn't want to be on the touchline, you need someone who can play there. You need someone who can go up and down a bit. So it could be. I remember years ago, it used to be that if we played Smith Rowe sort of left wing, we would have Tierney because Tierney could go outside of him. And then if it was Martinelli, we might not. And so I wonder now if they might say, you know what, if we're going to go for Martinelli, we can have Timber and he comes inside a bit. If we're going to go for Trossard, we need Calafiori to go outside of him. Maybe that's how you balance it on that side of the pitch.
Ash, Calafiori, he's getting some minutes, starts at left back today. Is that a sign of things to come, or do you just think you just wanted to get him on the pitch? Timber, obviously. Sorry, just to reframe that question, Ash. Was it interesting to you that Calafiori came on for Timber versus Zinchenko coming on for Timber?
So no, I thought he would come on today no matter what. I think, especially if we were winning, I think Arteta likes to give them their first taste away from home. It's a bit of a trait I've noticed. If they haven't started the opening game or something along those lines, I don't think we saw anywhere near enough to tell us anything. My biggest takeaway was, damn, he looks good in an Arsenal shirt, and is he the most handsome player we've had since Olivier Giroud?
I also like David Raya said he would put his head in the washing machine, and it kind of looked like he would put his head anywhere. I mean, there was some pretty overly hard headers that he did. I loved watching him go up with Martinez and shove him to the ground and get into that afters with him. I would really love. I know that we've got Jorginho, and Jorginho is a sly master of the dark arts. But I'd really like someone that's obnoxious about it. And maybe that could be Calafiori. Do you think he could be? I want a pure Italian, the purest Italian that we've ever had. And I think Calafiori looks like he could be that. What did you make of the Timber performance, Jacob? You said earlier in the show that there was that you saw some things that you didn't like. And I think that when Timber went out injured, we all got a bit carried away. We literally thought that he was going to change the world and that he'd come back in, forgetting that he's only ever played in the Dutch league. He's still a really young man. What did you make of the performance, and what concerns you?
The concerns were defensive, to be honest with you. I think there was a few times that Bailey got the wrong side of him. I think there's a few times that Bailey got past him, and that was the worry. I think a lot of people look at Timber and think he's going to be this Tomiyasu style shutdown defender. I've never really seen him as that, to be honest with you. I don't know if you remember last week when he came on, where he was skipping past people in the opposition box. That's what I see with Timber. I think he's someone that gives us something in the attacking phase. And I remember last season, Arteta doing an interview where he was like, we miss Timber. He gives us something in attack that none of our other defenders do. And I think that's where we're going to see the best from him. I think he just looks rusty, mate. I don't want to write him off. I don't want to say anything about his standard. I don't want to say that he's from the Dutch league. He's not all that. Like we watched Ben White grow into being the right back he is. We've watched Gabriel Magalhaes go from being quite a rash defender to someone who can do anything. We've watched William Saliba go from 2 loans to being the centre back he is today. It takes players time to be the player they can be within an Arteta system. So I haven't got any issues. I thought, look, Bailey's a really good player, and I thought he skinned him a couple of times. And I think if we were playing Liverpool next week and you were going, who's your man for Mo Salah, if everyone's fit, it's probably still Tomiyasu. But I think what Timber is going to give us on the pitch, personally, I think we're going to see the best of Timber when it's Declan Rice at 6 and Rice will veer to the left a little bit. And if Timber can invert from a right back position, that's when you'll see the best from Timber.
Ash, do you think the defensive lapses of Timber today give a bit more credit to Zinchenko, that when you play that aggressive, attacking sort of role, anybody that steps in there is going to cause problems? Almost a bit like Arsenal fans realising that Ederson and Alisson also make errant passes when we were comparing the keepers last season. Do you think it's just part of the role? Is that when he gets the rust out of the system, he's maybe going to have some trouble there?
I wonder if I'm going to give you a slightly different answer to that, because my perspective, I spent a bit of time thinking about this during the game, actually, is I don't think he had a choice today but to play Timber. I don't think he was going to play Zinchenko with especially against Villa away at their place. They used both their wings pretty effectively. Tomiyasu's not fit. Calafiori wasn't going to be in a position to start, today. So I think it was a straight shootout between Zinchenko and Timber. And I think he wanted some more defensive solidity. So I think that's why it's gone around that way this week. I think if we have this game in 3 months' time, I don't think that's the starting back four either. So I think we can overread into this, but I think, look, it's fair. It's his like you said, second start, right? As well. He's not even played a full game for us, by the way. I think we can. And mate, we said it. Villa are good, right? We haven't just sort of seen him have a difficult time against, a bottom 3 club. These guys are in the Champions League for a reason. They're not mugs. So I think credit where credit's due. No howlers. I think that's all we can think for. I don't know whether Thomas Partey had the best game, and I'm not sure if that helped him either, actually.
Let's talk about that. Jacob, on Thursday Therapy, we spoke a little bit about Thomas Partey and his fading physical prowess. He got the nod today. I don't think he gets the nod if Gabby Jesus is fit. But he played. There was some good and there was some bad again. Where is your assessment 2 games into the season? And again, we do have to remember players aren't up to full speed at the moment. But I think we can look at the body of work for 2024 and make a judgment.
I thought he was better today. I thought he was loads better today than he was last week. I thought on the ball he gave us something. I thought that side of the pitch benefited from him veering to that side. I thought he got the ball out to Saka and Ødegaard really nicely. We know what he can do on the ball. The question with Partey is what he does off the ball and whether he's fit enough to keep up. And the only thing I'd say for Partey today, there were a few times that Rodgers breezed past him. There's a few times that Rodgers breezed past Declan Rice. And by the way, same caveats for Rice, not 100% fit, not all there. I think this was a serious test. There's a reason that we wanted Havertz, Partey, Timber, Rice all on the pitch because they're huge. That Villa team the physicality of that team is massive. I think that was a serious test today. And I think you've got to say fair enough to Partey. Not just for the goal, but the goal is good. And by the way, he takes up that position so regularly. And he does good stuff from
edge
there.
Of the box.
All right, mate. He took a few air
shots. Probably his worst strike of the game, wasn't it? The goal was probably his worst strike of the game.
But then I remember him doing that against Spurs as well. Exactly the same position. I think it was rolled back to him by Ben White that day. So I was okay with Partey. I think the Mikel Merino signing tells you we're not going to start Partey for 38 games this season. We're not going to try to. I think he can give you things in certain parts of games, though.
Ash, do you think it's fair to say that maybe Thomas Partey is going to be more of a Champions League player this season than a regular starter in the Premier League? Do you think Merino coming in means Declan Rice is going to drop a bit deeper?
I do, actually, and I should probably qualify my comment on Partey. I don't think he had a stinker. I think it's exactly that. I think in possession he was as good as he is. I think it is off the ball, as you said, Jacob. I think today, and it wasn't just about the what's his name sort of playing through. He got beaten quite a few times. No, I know I've just said Villa are a good side, etc., etc., etc. The context for me is I've seen Thomas Partey play better than that, and that's the point. I think I think we are seeing a drop off on that. I don't think he's going to play 38 games. I think the Champions League thing, Pete's interesting. I think it will depend on the opposition. I think the style of football is obviously going to be slightly different in the Champions League as well. This new format thing is going to be quite interesting as well. So, look, I'm not trying to be overly critical. And on the fitness thing, Thomas Partey is one of the few that's had a full pre-season. In fact, probably one of the first times he has had a full pre-season. So that's where I'm kind of worried about this little drop-off. That's my context. Really.
He's had 2 starts. He's got 4 more. And then if tradition is anything, he will be injured. So I like that I like that we're all pondering. I don't think Thomas Partey is going to play 38 games this season. He's never played 38 games. Even when
he's not been available for 38 games. So.
No, he's never been available. And I don't know whether this is me just dreaming here, but I think if he was available for 38 games every season for the last 4 years, I think we get into the Champions League earlier, and I think we've got a shot at winning at least one title. And I think his absence has been really costly for Arsenal. But at least we've got it covered now. And having Thomas Partey as a rotation option is a lot better than having Mo Elneny as your rotation option. So it shows the depth that we've got to. All right, let's get to the last topic of conversations today. Title credentials. This is what we really want to be talking about. Ipswich Town went 1-0 up after about 2 minutes today, and they were walloped by Manchester City. We all saw that coming. We know that they're going to be good this season. Man United have already dropped points this season. I wanted to get your take, Ash. You've watched a lot of football. You've watched around the Premier League. Do you think anybody is a threat to Arsenal other than Manchester City? And do you think this squad can go all the way based on 2 games?
Yes, because we made that call before the season started because we're fans. It's interesting. I think the Premier League is going to be slightly different this year in the sense that I think a lot of what we would call mid-table, upper mid-table teams, I think have improved a lot with some of the players they bought. You look at the players that West Ham have bought. If they can get that group working, I thought they were good today, actually. You look at, again, Villa's there. You look at Brighton's start to the season. You look at where Fulham have strengthened. I think the whole league's getting stronger. So I think we may see a bit of a surprise in the mix at some point early on in the season. But I think for us, I like this. We're going about our business. We're not being particularly sort of outrageous and wild. 2-2-0 wins against good opposition, easing into it. yeah, why not? I mean, I do look around the Premier League and I don't see a team I genuinely feel scared of. I mean, look, we didn't lose to City last year. I don't see how we lose to them again this year. It's going to be the other games. So, but I think there will be other threats. There may be different draws this year in different teams we think we should win against. You know.
Jacob, is it a league of two this year? Is there anybody that could knock on the door and cause problems? What have you seen in the opening 2 games of the season? And are you still feeling good for an Arsenal title win?
Yeah, I am.
A little bit of hesitation there.
Mate, it's just this opening run. It's just this opening run of games is horrible. It's terrifying. And each, like, we're 2 games in, and I already feel like I've ticked 2 off where I'm like, another week where we haven't dropped points. What a way to live. But I mean, like, Brighton looks scary.
It's going to be every week. It's going to be every week now.
Know,
that's how it works now.
I know. But it's Brighton looks tough now. Brighton looks like a difficult game next week. You know, and City, Spurs, away games. I still feel really good. I don't know what Liverpool have got. I'm not writing Liverpool off. I think a lot of people are writing Liverpool off. They've still got so much talent at the top of the pitch. Like, Mo Salah looks on it. Do you know what I mean? They still look like a really good team. So I don't want to write them off, but I think it'll be us and City. I still think we can do it. Look, this was a game where if we'd have drawn, and I'll tell you what, at about 50 minutes before we got our second goal, when Raya had just made that save, if you'd have told me we'd take a draw today, I probably would have taken it. And then I would have looked at the league table and gone, fucking hell, what if we drop more points to Spurs? What if we drop points to City? So now you can go, right, we haven't dropped points. Let's see how City get on when they go to Villa, because they had a fucking tough game there last year. So, no, I'm still feeling good. I'm still feeling really good. And this, I think you're bang on, Pete. This is massive, this game.
What do you, so the opening 5 games, how many points is an acceptable haul that keeps you feeling good that we're in the run? I'd take it. 11? 10, 11?
11 from a potential 15.
Yeah.
I think 12's the minimum. And I think
it's 13 from 15. I think we can draw one of those games. 4 wins and a draw for me.
I think you might be right, Ash, to be honest with you.
You don't reckon beat Brighton and then get 2 draws against City and Spurs?
We've got to win one of those 2. We have to win one of those 2. Yeah. Or both.
Yeah.
Isn't it mad how high the levels are in the Premier League? That literally outside the teams that have just come up, every game feels nightmarish. Like, you're looking at Liverpool, like they've got Brentford tomorrow. Decent team. West Ham are playing well this season. Brighton just scalped United. There are no easy games. Being a Premier League fan in 1998 was easier because you knew outside the top 4, going down to play Derby, you're going to wallop them. They're rubbish. They're not even fit. Now every team's got the same technology, the same access to information, mountains of money. Like, some of the quality that go, like Kudus at West Ham, never would have happened 20 years ago. But like, I know Paqueta's got some problems, but again, Paqueta at West Ham, like, there's just quality. Every single Premier League team has at least 3 really, really top quality players. So it's going to be interesting. But Ash, what's the prediction for Brighton next week?
Lunchtime kickoff, sunshine, September, hopefully in London. I actually think we'll be all right against Brighton at home. I know we've had difficult times against them in the past. I know they've got off to a strong start. Danny Welb's in the goals, eh? I actually think this will be another, hopefully 2-0, 2 or 3-0. I want to see, the thing I really want to see next week is the 3rd successive clean sheet. I think will be really important. We've had a knack of conceding silly goals at home when we were in the lead last season. For no reason. I'd like to see that kind of stuff go away.
All right. Final question for both of you. Transfer window shuts in 7 days. Are we going to see a big piece of business? Do you think there are any concerns that Arteta might address before the window's out, Jacob?
Yeah, we'll buy forward. We'll definitely get forward. The fact that they've let Vieira go, after trialling him at right wing in pre-season. We're going to get a forward. The calibre of that forward, I don't know. There was obviously the Lookman rumours. God knows whether that's legit or not. I genuinely...
He got to PSG, apparently.
Oh, is he really? Well, good for him. A mate of mine who's quite well connected said that Arsenal did genuinely inquire for Dwight McNeil at the start of the window. So it might be that level. It might be that we go that level. As I said at the start, I think the left-hand side of the pitch is the issue for Arsenal at the moment. We've done a left-back. We've done a left-8. I think it's time to buy a starting level left winger. We know Nico Williams has got the release clause. You and I have had an email to correct us, Pete. He's on
Steve
200 grand a week, not 300 grand a week. Although I don't think we ever actually said he was on 300 grand a week. I think we said.
I think I might have said it in the last. I think I might have said it. 200,000 euros a week. Do you think that 200,000 euros a week is a lot of money? Obviously, that would put him up there with Martinelli and co. Do you think that we would spend that sort of money on a winger?
Yeah.
What you think we'd do that?
If you're going to buy a winger who you think could start ahead of Martinelli, you have to give him a salary similar to Martinelli, surely. And by the way, I think there's still questions over the guy. He only got 6 goals last season, but I also watched what he did to Kyle Walker in a Euros final, and I'm sold. I'm sold. Give him, if he wants £200,000 a week, have it. Let's go. There's a title to be won. And I think that's the most obvious gap on the pitch for us. Do it. Press the button.
Ash, 48 million release clause, 200.
What I don't understand is if we like this player this much, why this hasn't happened. I genuinely don't. That's the thing I don't get. And I don't think it's a wage structure thing. I think, your 200,000 euros is 170,000 quid, right? Yeah, but you'd expect to have a European Championship winner on that kind of number if you're paying that kind of money for him. I don't think
55 million euros is the release. 55 million euros doesn't seem too bad for somebody that young.
Yeah,
and has just done it in a European final.
But to answer your question, Ash, why didn't we do it earlier? So apparently he does like the idea of Barcelona. He obviously does also like the idea of staying at Bilbao. There is a theory. There's a theory that we've actually just kicked off a domino effect that might be the reason we get him. There's a theory that where we've sent Vieira back to Porto, it means that Porto can now sell Conceição to Juve. Juve can now sell Chiesa to Barcelona, which means Barcelona no longer want Nico Williams, which means Nico Williams can now come to Arsenal. That's the theory. If all of that happens,
by the way,
who's in the deepest, darkest parts of Arsenal internet.
There is a pivot table somewhere that some nerd is having the time of his life with on that one. My weird one, Pete. Firstly, I love Nico Williams. I do want him. Matt Candela and I have spent quite a lot of the summer out in the garden drinking beers, sort of drooling over him. So definitely think you can see he's a player that would work in our team straight away. The one for me, and this is so outlandish, Peter, you call me out like rightly for this. I just still think there's something that's going to happen. I think there's going to be an opportunistic weird one. We may throw out like a crazy bid for someone for shits and giggles and see if it lands. The one I want it to be, I wonder if he wants to get the Real Sociedad band back together. If you've got Marino and Odegaard who played that season together, who's the player that played in front of them? Alexander Isak.
You love that transfer rumor. I don't think we'll go for Isak. I don't think Newcastle. I don't think it's going to.
I genuinely. I think there's like very little chance of it happening.
Hey, but we can dream. It's the transfer window, and everybody's entitled to a dream. We've got Williams. We've got Isak.
I need another beer.
Yeah, I need another beer as well. All right, that takes us to the end of the show. 59 minutes of content. Jacob and Ash, thank you for joining for a Live on the Whistle. We'll definitely have you back throughout the season. And if you are listening to this and it's a Monday, that possibly means that you are not a member. If you want to join up and be a member, patreon.com/The Arsenal Opinion. And if you're just listening to this for free and you're listening to it on your phone, give us a 5-star review, whether you're on Spotify or Apple. We love those 5-star reviews, especially when you write a little note. Someone did write 1 star because it's knee-jerk. Listen, this is a reaction pod. If that's the way you're thinking about leaving a review, do not leave that review. On that note, Johnny's going to be back with ratings from Ibiza tomorrow. I'll be back with Jacob for Thursday Therapy, and there will be another on the whistle next weekend to look forward to. So on that note, I'm going to get the music up. I'm going to turn the loop off. I'm going to say ciao for now. Ciao for now, everybody.